The time has finally come. We have reviewed all of the singles leading up to this album's release, and the album just dropped. FIDLAR, Almost Free.
This is their third album. It's following up 2015's 2, and boy is it an interesting album.
First thing to say about it is it's obviously very polarizing. You got some people who really like it and some people who really hate it, but that's to be expected when FIDLAR makes such a different sounding album.
It's really good to see FIDLAR continuing to evolve their sound. Each record they put out has been a progression, because it would get boring really quick if they continue to put out the same thing over and over again. So I'm really happy they haven't.
I'm not gonna lie and say I wasn't hoping to hear at least a little bit of that West Coasty punk sound that they're really used to, and it kind of sucks that they're losing their roots, but I'm definitely not unhappy that they're growing as a band.
The best way to describe this, I'd say, is party music with some electronic influence and a lot more serious lyrics compared to their previous efforts.
FIDLAR has always done a good job of blending classic punk rock sounds with that new party electronic vibe, and in this album they just took it a step further. When you put on the album for the first time, you're immediately greeted with a dirty yet electronic sounding drum beat that is very, very, very reminiscent of the Beastie Boys song, So What You Want. Here's a comparison for you.
I can't promise you that, but I promise I'll be back with the sack that your ass swings.
FIDLAR have made their fandom of the Beastie Boys very obvious. They actually did a cover of their song Sabotage a few years back, but the influence is really, really obvious here. I think they probably would acknowledge this, and this isn't a rip-off situation, but it really is a Beastie Boys song. And this does set the tone for the rest of the album as it being kind of a hip-hop rap mix with the punk rock, which is what the Beastie Boys were, which is what FIDLAR really is on this album. The song also definitely sets the tone for the production for the rest of the album, as it's a lot cleaner and you can tell it's recorded on a computer instead of a tape that they did with their last few albums. After that song, you're led into Can't You See, which is a bit more of the old FIDLAR sound seeping in. It's a classic rock jam, nothing special, good little rock song though. And it's fronted by Elvis, the other guy in the band that sings. One trend you'll notice in this album is that the songs sung by Elvis retain more of that classic FIDLAR sound, whereas the songs sung by Zach are a lot more of the new age stuff. After that you have the song Flake, which has a major indie rock vibe, very similar to something you'd expect from a band like the Black Keys or the Arctic Monkeys. This song is also fronted by Elvis. A lot of instrumental experimentation on this track, a lot of instruments you wouldn't normally hear in a FIDLAR song. Oh yeah. The songs on this record are really, really groovy and dancey, as we've mentioned before. It almost sounds like they're trying to play drum machine style beats on a real kid, which really is kind of like the definition of the hip-hop meets rock. And the rock influences on this album sound like they're coming from the 90s with some 60s and 70s classic rock also mixed in there. One of the songs on this record that really takes it in a new direction is Called You Twice, which features the... Who the f*** is K-Flay? Featuring K-Flay. It's a very emotional song, and it's really cool to see a male-female duet style song on a FIDLAR album. Really interesting feature choice to have K-Flay on this track, but it works really well. It's definitely one of the more emotional tracks on this album, and not one of the crazy f***ed up heroin, crack, cocaine party songs that we're used to. We've already done reviews on the songs Too Real and Alcohol, and there isn't much more to say about those, just besides that they're a little repetitive, at least I found, especially with Alcohol, just rehashing a similar chorus to their song Cocaine. But they're nice additions to the album, and I see how they work as a cohesive unit. It is a little odd though how there's really only one song on this entire album that you could mosh to, Alcohol. FIDLAR shows are known for being absolutely crazy, wild shows. And it is a little bit sad to see there's only really one song that would kind of fit into that whole thing now. You won't have as much moshing and maybe more just... Another one of the more dancey songs that really sticks out is Too Real. This is a brutal, brutal song with very political charged lyrics. It's kind of like FIDLAR walking to an EDM festival after watching a Trump rally. It's a good mix of classic FIDLAR screamy stuff with some new electronic elements. This album finishes off with two grungier songs. This whole dance thing doesn't follow through for the entire album, and that is seen on these last two tracks. Thought Mouth and The Good Times Are Over. Both of these songs sound very Nirvana influenced, and there's a little bit of a Sublime influence coming through on the song Thought Mouth. These last two tracks have a lot of raw emotion on them. I really felt the lyrics, and I think it's a really good ending to the album with some powerful emotions coming through. Some of these lyrics can be a little bit cliche at times, but it still works really well. The opening chords on Good Times Are Over are very, very Nirvana-esque. I see a lot of comparisons to Lithium and Rape Me by Nirvana. This is one of the real rockers on the album, and it's the perfect sad rocked up summer track, and a really good closer in my opinion.
This album's a good addition to their discography, and I think it showcases a lot of talent that they have in songwriting, in evolving as a band, and just in general, sticking to a good sound.
That said, FIDLAR are such a good band that I would say this is probably my least favorite album of the three, but that in no way means we don't like the album. Something's gotta be the worst, and it is this one. Still love it though. They're a really solid band for their entire discography.
Also, a lot of the band members are starting to get into their early 30s, which kind of comes through on the lyrics. I feel like they're starting to explore more serious topics, and they're a little bit moving away from that, 20s, early 20s party lifestyle.
It still has the themes of their previous albums of drugs, alcohol, partying, loneliness, sadness, all of that, but they're just singing about it in a bit more of a mature way than they used to. We did criticize them a little bit for going on and on about these themes, but now that they're going forward with it a little bit more maturely, I am seeing an evolution now.
FIDLAR has also been a band for 8 years, so I can definitely see why they're trying to move away from their previous sound. And also, the sound that they used to have, a ton of bands are doing nowadays, and so it really seems like they're trying to set themselves apart from the rest of the pack.
I'm gonna give this album a 75. I thought it was a good addition to their discography. I'm really excited to listen to it more. I enjoyed it a lot. Didn't blow my mind. I certainly don't think that it's their best album, as I mentioned, but it's a very solid effort and I'm happy with it.
I'm gonna give the album a 73, just a bit lower than what Connor gave it. For me, I really enjoyed it, but there was just a few tracks that rubbed me the wrong way, just being a bit too poppy. But in general, really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to hearing it more. Make sure to drop a comment on what you thought about the album, and like or dislike this video, and share it, and see you next time, guys.